Hi, I'm Matt Burns. Today is May 6th, 2025. It is currently 1:33 Eastern something time, either standard or daylight, whatever it is, in May. If daylight savings still exists when you're watching this. This morning I got up around 7:40 and I got to work around 8:30. And I don't have that much work to do at my workplace. So I try to use the free time that I have well. But actually, while I was doing some work this morning, some paperwork at the business, I was watching the Rick Beato and Billy Strings interview. If you don't know Rick Beato, he's a guy in his early 60s, lived a very musical life. He was a producer, he played music, all kinds of stuff, still does, and now he has a YouTube channel where he breaks down different music stuff from a sort of music theory standpoint, harmony standpoint. He had Billy Strings on. Billy Strings is just a couple years older than me. I'm 25, I'll be 26 a week from tomorrow. And they were just talking about all things Billy Strings, bluegrass. But one of the things that Billy was talking about in the interview is that when he was a kid, just a young kid, 5 or 4, and he first picked up guitar in the trailer park that he grew up in, his dad gave him the guitar, and he first learned from playing chords and being the rhythm guitar player for his dad and his dad's friends who would come over and pick bluegrass. So what that means for somebody who doesn't know the role of a rhythm guitar, basically they're like the backdrop of the music. They play the chords while something like the mandolin or the violin, the fiddles, and the other guitar players might be playing something a little bit more seemingly complicated in a melody sense. And Billy talked about playing rhythm guitar till he was like 11 or 12. And, once you learn rhythm guitar, especially in a bluegrass context, there's not a lot of different kinds of chords. There's like 4 chords that'll be, the basis of almost everything you do. But what Billy said that helped him do is it helped him take all those years that he was playing rhythm guitar and working it up. He was just listening to the people around him, his dad and his dad's friends, a ton. And so that when he did play more lead lines and stuff that was away from rhythm guitar, maybe a little bit more technically difficult, he had a basis for which to build off of. And for me, as a musician, it was very important to hear stuff like that because I'm kind of at this point as a musician where if a song only has 4 chords in it, I can probably pick it out, within a couple seconds of hearing the loops of the song typically go over and over and over again. But what that ends up meaning is that the things that I end up lacking are the small details because I wasn't actually listening. I just heard something, was pretty sure, I think this is about it, this is how it normally goes, and I kind of just put it in my back pocket, don't think about it much, don't engage with the song much. But then what I end up missing is the important details that make that song. So a lot of times I'll be able to pick out something 90% by ear, and then the last little 10% that really is the important stuff there, I just, I either give up on it too early or I don't consider it much, and I end up not getting things to the level that I want to get them to. So after I was watching his interview, which was like an hour long, I was just listening to some more music and kind of had a little bit of a bad mood today, so I wanted to chill out a little bit, listen to some chiller music that I haven't listened to in a while. And I realized, certain ends of phrases, certain parts of the song, maybe the singer's singing something or the guitar player's playing something, and I've heard it a million times, and so I've kind of checked out, or I sing along to it, and I'm more focused on how I'm singing than I am what's on the recording. And there's a good chance the recording is probably better than my singing. And I want to be a better singer, so I need to listen more. And when I was thinking about all of that, I just started connecting it with various different things in my life. And I'm sure anybody who's in some sort of skill, like music or working out, being in shape, whatever it might be, there are always crossovers to the rest of your life. And if you don't take those, you're probably not living a good life. Or at least it's a more difficult life. But I kind of wrote out how music mirrors life in a couple of my journaling things that I did today. I put down number one here. I'm a private piano teacher for mostly young kids, but also some adults. I put down in here that my students who have learned to listen closely are normally the best players and usually the ones who enjoy it the most. You know, a lot of people grew up learning how to read music, and I remember being a kid and thinking that, like, I knew a guy who could play piano so well, but it seemed like he was like a musical robot. So, like, I didn't really feel a lot of the energy from his playing, even though he could play, like, crazy, crazy stuff at a very young age. And not that he wasn't a good player, but I just think that as I've gotten older, I focus less on reading music. Not that it's not important, but I like to focus, especially with kids, on the listening aspect, because I find that when they're listening, they connect things to a million other things. And so, like, reading, you can connect to real reading, but when a kid hears, dum da da dum dum da da dum, and they go, that's Carol of the Bells, but then they also realize, like, oh, these three notes that I was playing in this other song is just like that, just on a different spot of the piano. And, they'll figure this out in, like, a second or third grade, and it's really cool to see. And it just, like, it sparks, like, it's like a dopamine hit when you realize, like, it still happens to me. I'll be in my guitar lessons, the ones that I'm actually taking, and I'll hear just two notes, and I'll be like, that's the guitar line in the HGTV commercials, the exact spot of the guitar, the exact set of notes. And I'll say something to the guitar teacher because I just got to get it out, and he takes my word on it. But yeah, it's really cool when you stumble upon things like that. So even just from a fun standpoint, that's a big part of it. Especially, come on, music is all ears, so you would think that listening would be important, but sometimes you check out. On the converse side of things, I put down on here when I'm not paying close attention in my lessons with the kids. So I mean more like on what they're saying, not what they're playing. Kids tell you things like, oh, they take 5 bathroom breaks in a half hour. Clearly, there's something that they're trying to avoid in the lesson, which tells me I need to figure out what I need to avoid, or figure out how to repackage it in a way that doesn't seem scary, or whatever it is it might be that's keeping the kid from wanting to be there. But, in a long day, you use up so much mental energy on different things, and sometimes you go on autopilot. When you do, you don't listen. Or sometimes you're too focused on, like, can the kid play this thing this fast? Can he read this thing? Can she read this thing? And really, the most important thing is, are you actually considering where they're at right now in their life? Because if not, you're not going to be able to teach them anything, and they're not going to have a good time. I also connected this just like being in a committed relationship at home. I've realized recently that, my girlfriend will say something to me, and I feel like I already know what she's going to say by the end, so I instinctually just, like, fill it in, just blabber it out. And half the time it's not what she was thinking, or it's one key difference away, or I may have just got it completely wrong. And either way, even if I got it right, I'm not honoring her, herself. And so, that ends up resulting in, like, hurt feelings, or I don't remember something right because I didn't actually, like, pay attention when I was doing it. I didn't listen. And ultimately, like, just tougher connection between me and her. Not that it's, like, an ongoing problem or something. Well, maybe it is. I've been a little bad at it recently. But yeah, I just thought that it was something that I connected with the music. And, I think that we should all take the time to maybe listen a little bit closer. I told a kid in his lessons yesterday, I forget what exactly it was that he said. He said his teacher, he's in second grade, his teacher told him that he was a good listener. he can be a little all over the place. But I did tell him I've been trying to connect with him more personally and hoping that that will help things. But I told him, I said, as you get older, like, it's important right now to be a good listener. If your teacher tells you a good listener, that's a good thing. It's even more important as you get older, because I think the most likable people are the people who take what you say, take it into consideration, and do something about it. That's positive for everybody. So yeah, I was just listening to that Billy Strings interview, and that's kind of what I thought. But yeah, I'm gonna record something else now. Ended this at 1:45 Eastern something time. Hope you have a good one, and hope you learned something or thought about something. Bye bye.